and roasting a pillar in our community, Dr. Marcus Albernaz. I was at Parker and I were just talking a minute ago. I'm going to say nothing but good things. I can't say anything bad about Marcus Albernaz. This guy's meant so much to me and my family. I'll even get emotional thinking about it, all the things that he's done for me. And Marcus is one of those guys that if you're lucky enough to be a friend of Marcus's, you understand the true meaning of friendship. I love you, brother. You really are special to me and my family, and I appreciate that. Now, that's the only nice thing that's going to be said. Let's bring up the guys who really know the truth, starting with Pat Brilliant. Dr. Pat Brilliant is a friend and surgical colleague of Dr. Albernaz. Dr. Patrick Brilliant is a highly respected surgeon with Physicians East. This year was voted one of the best surgical educators by the ECU resident surgeons. Please welcome Dr. Pat Brilliant.
Thanks, Henry. Thank you, and of course, all distinguished guests, and most importantly, the scouts who are in attendance. Very impressive to hear Gabriel talk. I wish my 21-year-old would sound more like a 16-year-old as far as plans in the future. Honestly, scouting has done well for you. Don't be sad about some of the things I'm going to say. One day, you will be old too, surrounded by other old people, and maybe some of these jokes will be relevant to you. I would be remiss unless I were to again mention Wagner, who was nice enough to text me and say, would you like to participate in this event? I said, oh yes, I would love that. So I called her back and I said, yeah, this is Pat Brilliant. I'm like, oh yeah, great, perfect. But 4.5 minutes later in the conversation, Wagner, you're talking to me about the Greg Murphy fundraising event. It's about the Marcus thing. Oh, okay, that's fine. He's running unopposed for that part, right? That's fine. Then she went off to the Tim Moore event. I'm like, but hold on, it's about Marcus. She's like, Marcus Albernaz. Oh yeah, fine. 6:30 on the 16th, 5 minutes, you got it. I'm like, 5 minutes? If I'm paying for a table over there, I want as much time as I want to roast Marcus Albernaz. I don't want to be condensed. I want to have that feeling of being at the carnival, being at the fair. Marcus is in the dunk tank. If I miss with a ball, it doesn't matter. I'm running up, hitting the target, poof, he's going in the water. Bless her heart. We got together from a roasting point of view, talked to Greg, talked to Jonathan, sat around we went through what Marcus's faults are. Things we could talk about that are amusing about Marcus, things we could roast Marcus. So 4.5 hours later, in like 17 pages, we said, okay, we got to divide it up. We got to figure out, we'll separate in different parts. Jonathan, who clearly has aplomb, panache, is going to do probably a nicer version. He will try to mingle some of Marcus's better qualities and yet ridicule him. That requires a little bit too much sophistication. I'm just going to do half of that, where I try to ridicule. But I wasn't sure because I said to myself, I've never actually done a roast before. And then I thought, well, okay, it's like doing a talk at a wedding, except I'm sober. It's much easier. But I needed help, so I went to someone who has experience in front of such an august body of folks. So I went to Marcus. I said, well, what do you think how should I handle this? So he looks at his, says, well, obviously, what would Marcus do? Shows me his bracelets, which says WW&D. Not too much of a God complex there, but he said, don't worry about it. Just do what I would do. I said, I'm supposed to make it about myself? Well, I thought, if I make it about myself, it can't be that hard because it involves talking. And if anybody knows me, I hate to talk. The only worse version than knowing that I'm going to start speaking about something is anything where Nate Hamilton would modify it and say, I'm just going to give you the short version of the story. I'd hate to see the unabridged version. So I went back to Mentor Marcus. He wears different hats. I'm going to call him different things as we go on. So Mentor Marcus says, be as verbose as possible. Use as many intricate words as you possibly can during the talk. I'm like, why would I do that? He said, I'm going to go to the other tables and I'm going to mock them if they don't know some of those words. Sound like a great idea. For you, Greg, I'm going to say, don't be pusillanimous. And yes, I know it's not a noun, but I'm using it as an adjective because I know it's your favorite word. So you're saying to yourself, it sounds like brilliant stalling. He hasn't really roasted Marcus very well. Why is he being so kind of reluctant to do things? I'm nervous. This is not an easy time to be a roaster, to be a comedian, to be a comic. These are difficult and dangerous times for folks who might put on this mantle. People have been slapped, stabbed, canceled. Can't afford it. And I look around, there's a study, 33% of folks who are comedians have had some kind of negative thing happen to them. We have 3 roasters. One's a congressman, he could have a security detail. One's part of this intricate Albernaz mafia, he's safe. I'm the sacrificial lamb. I'm that third. And then I get more nervous because I think of other roasters. Phyllis Diller, she's dead. Don Rickles, he's dead. Joan Rivers, she died. She was having an ENT procedure when she died. Oh my God. I am more worried than the person who has the Jeffrey Epstein Island guest list of the planned family picnic. And so I looked around and I thought to myself, I don't think I see Brian Floyd. He's not here. Is that right? Thank goodness. Because clearly Brian Floyd has more of a problem with his hair than Jada Pinkett Smith. But I don't want to see him somehow in the back saying some version of, you keep that old ECU health words out of your mouth. And then coming up here and slapping me. I don't want to be the Chris Rock of Eastern North Carolina. Although it seems like it wouldn't be bad because next week I have 3 times as many patients in my office. Can I have the blank slide beforehand, please? Oh.
That was the blank slide.
Okay. So now, I wasn't sure if Brian was going to be here, so I was going to reassure him that Marcus was not actually planning what I'm about to show. What I'm about to show. This is a rumor. There is no plan of changing it to ENT health. ECU health is safe. Oh. So now I got that out of the way, I feel a bit more comfortable. And so I think I put my nervousness aside, and I can focus more on the roasting, knowing that I think I'm amongst friends and it's safe. So once again, I go to Marcus and I say, how do you see yourself? What are experiences from your past? Do you see yourself as a movie character, someone that other folks can relate to from different ages? Immediately, the normal things, he envisions himself as Top Gun, maybe Superman or some other kind of somewhat inflated reference. I said, for my entire existence, I've always pictured you in the kind of iconic moment from the Harry Met Sally movie. And he gets a smile, and he gets a little misty-eyed, and I can see him going back, and he's thinking, play the scene that he's envisioning himself right now. I edited that down because I wasn't sure how many scouts were going to be there. We're all old enough to know that reference. And I looked and I said, really, that's not the scene from the movie that I most associate with Marcus. It's really this scene.
Which one you're the worst man. You're low maintenance, but you think you're low maintenance.
There is no more quintessential Marcus version of anything. There is not a greater dichotomy on this planet than the perception of one's high maintenance, low maintenance status. There has been a hospital engagement study that I'm sure Walter can confirm, where they asked everybody at the hospital a certain set of questions, to which 2 answers were statistically above every other answer. 1, they asked kind of background reference question, is the earth flat? 100% said yes. 99.98% of the staff answered yes. Marcus is extremely high maintenance. Vanessa, you were the only person who did not vote. Apparently, you're the one who made it the 99.90. Thank you for that. There are some other hospital secrets that you may not know. If you work at the hospital during these trying times, you know that your pager goes off very regularly, very routinely. You are being informed that we are red alert status. It's very convenient at 2 o'clock in the morning to know that you are at red alert status. You may not know that red alert status means that Marcus has insisted that he must lead 3 entire separate teams to perform a tonsillectomy. When we go to yellow status, he has agreed that he only needs 2 complete entire teams in order to perform a tonsillectomy. From a movie reference point of view, if you remember A Few Good Men, there's a code red moment in that scene. This may be my code red joke moment. I am going to say that this is a joke, and it should be taken as such, and hopefully I will not get retribution for it. However, it has been rumored, not by me, by others, rumored that Marcus has considered changing his preferred pronoun because he has thought that if he applies as a they, he will get 2 completely separate operating rooms. I do not think that is true. So how did we get this transitional? I don't understand. Can you give me the next picture? I need some understanding. I need some clarity. How does this young, impressionable face, how can this be? He seems like the young gentleman in the back of the room, maybe slightly older, but with full of vision. Now there's problems, I understand. He may not have had the mental acumen, the cerebral celerity to achieve the pinnacle of his goal. That would have been, well, to be a colon rectal surgeon. So he had to lower the bar, lower the standards, and decide that if he had to, he would be an otolaryngologist. So well, I'll just settle for that. It seems not that hard. So I'm going to aspire, but maybe my scores, maybe my tests aren't as good as they need to be. An idea forms. He immediately goes to and so after this visit, he I've been able to acquire, and there's not very many of these. This is, I believe, one of the few extant, still in circulation versions of his medical school application. It took a lot of research and work to find this. Could you bring that up for me, please? I'm going to point out probably the most pertinent thing.
There's no such thing as an Aboriginal Portuguese. You cannot claim this status just to get into medical school.
Perhaps he had other positive criteria. Shameless. Shameless. Now, transitioning from that time in his life, I now have a photograph of him in his most current visualized state. On the phone, enjoying his role as kingmaker. A deal over here, a partnership over there, something behind the scenes that he can do, some manipulation, some intricate. At some point he may work, I'm not sure. But there's a lot of this phone talking that's going on. But in his kingmaker role, I know that when he calls, I answer my phone. Now I take my credit card out because I know what's coming next. But usually I know that he's on that small inner circle of people that when my phone goes off, I know exactly what it means. Just like that person who keeps insisting it's the last time they're going to call me about my car warranty. You are those two same people to me. I have some footage that was shot more recently of the kingmaker in his natural habitat. Can I see the kingmaker in his natural habitat? It's like Mutual Omaha's Wild Kingdom, you know, where they track him to their lair and follow him going around. There he is. Oh, on the phone. He's going to do some work. And before I know, he's returned. Now, the shocking thing is that what you don't realize that he actually did a pediatric tube placement during that thing. Because I've checked it before, and I think that the door has not slammed shut, and he's back dictating post-op, and I think maybe he was the smart one to go into Oakland. I've been adding to this as I go along, because every day there's somebody else who adds another story about Albernaz or our other things they call him today, in a group of folks who I would consider to be relatively high maintenance. I did not know until today, after all this time, that he has his own special box of glasses and tools and instruments that have to be ferried around from room to room. It is a statistical anomaly that no one else, even in his practice, is capable of doing. And yet he does. Seriously. Marcus is a devoted spouse, father, physician, leader, mentor, scholar. He's been a pillar of our community for nearing on 4 decades. He's dedicated to multiple charities. He's a fantastic cook of steak, a wine connoisseur, and a person I'm honored to truly call my friend, hopefully still.
Now we know why the residents voted Pat as our favorite. That was awesome, Pat. I love that. Is it possible to get the picture of Marcus back up there with hair? No, back to the hair shot. No, keep going back, keep going back, keep going. Right there. Holy moly. Now I know why they call him the sexy Brazilian. I've never seen you with hair like that before, Marcus. Nice. All right. Let's bring up John Workman. Dr. John Workman, a friend and colleague, partner, and brother-in-law of Dr. Albernaz. Dr. Workman is the winner of numerous patient awards, is known as a gifted ENC surgeon and subspecialist in voice surgery. Dr. John Workman.
It's just a great privilege to be here to celebrate Marcus. It is my honor and privilege to celebrate the Distinguished Citizen 2022 award. I was going to use the Chris Rock joke that this is the Oscars and I'm no Chris Rock and Marcus, you're no Will Smith. You don't have to have that slap, but you already got that. I've known Marcus for 30 years. He's my trusted friend, colleague, and brother-in-law. Over that time, I've had countless opportunities to record roast-worthy material. I will keep my focus on the professional endeavors. Greg, I'll let you tackle the political stuff. Marcus loves what he does. He loves his career. In fact, his enthusiasm for otolaryngology, otherwise known as ear, nose, and throat surgery, led me to the field when I was a young and very impressionable medical student 33 years ago. One of the wonderful aspects of our surgical specialty is that we have the opportunity to take care of patients of all ages, newborns to centurions. I think he has a special place in his heart for the pediatric population, and he certainly is a hit with the little ones. He gets right down to their level, endearingly cracking jokes about their boyfriend or girlfriend, and he puts them at ease. He's like Santa Claus without the belly and the beard. He did get the hair right, though. We do have proof that the kids love him because we have photo evidence of it. One of our excellent and experienced nurses recently brought in a picture when she was just 5 years old, happily smiling after a visit with Dr. Albernaz. He is truly our practice grandfather. Of course, he's wonderful with the adult patients also. In his 30-year practice plus, he has built a reputation for caring, compassionate, and expertly skilled care. One of his older patients was so impressed with Marcus's care that she named one of her four-legged pasture animals after him. Marcus was so proud of the fact that someone would name their prized stallion Albernaz. After seeing a picture of the rather scrawny animal, one of the nurses at the surgery center immediately quipped, "Are you sure that isn't a mule?" I had to add, did they just name the back half of the horse Albernaz? Speaking of the surgery center staff, as a leader, he's always promoting esprit de corps. Marcus, that's group team spirit in French. He raises our spirit with humor, just like his father, Jose, who I will always remember with a bright twinkle in his eye and a mischievous grin on his face. Marcus loves comedy. There's not a day that goes by where he isn't boosting nurses, surgical techs, and anesthesia teams' morale with jokes and stories. One summer, he proposed that there should be a Doctors of the Surgery Center calendar. Much like firefighters or Sports Illustrated might have a pictorial calendar. He immediately volunteered for Dr. August. Not because he was born in that month, but because it was the hottest month. Now, he may have some ego associated with his perceived good looks, but he has no ego to get in the way of helping his patients. It's not unusual to have a back hall conversation with Marcus about a difficult surgical case or an elusive diagnosis. He is always ready to confer, interact, brainstorm. One of his favorite books, E.O. Wilson's Consilience, The Unity of Knowledge. Consilience is literally a jumping together of knowledge by linking fact and fact-based theory across disciplines to create a groundwork of explanation. Basically, it's collaboration. Marcus loves collaboration. In thinking about this roast, I keep coming back to this question. Does anybody love a meeting more than Marcus? See a problem, have a meeting. For example, as COVID pandemic began in March 2020, our group, led by Marcus, held daily meetings for months, really, to shape policy based on fast-moving, constantly changing discoveries to combat the virus. A meeting to find the best answer through collaboration and consilience. The final trait to discuss is his quiet courage. On emergency call, he displays that courage by rushing into the hospital to evaluate patients with urgent airways or an acute infection. As chief of staff, he reported to the hospital to help run the command center response to Hurricane Floyd and the floods that ravaged our community. Not surprisingly, one of his favorite quotes comes from Teddy Roosevelt's Man in the Arena speech, given at the Sorbonne in Paris, April 1910. Teddy's message to these graduates was to act, to do, not to sit back and to critique. In Teddy's words, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends his time in great endeavors. Marcus is our man in the arena. So Marcus, love of career, love of comedy and calendars, love of collaboration and consilience, displays of courage, our distinguished citizen, Marcus Albernaz.
Wow, your brother blowing easy on you. This next guy, not so much. It's time for Congressman Murphy. Now, I got to tell you a story. I tell this story every year. How many of you heard the story about how Greg Murphy got into politics? This is a true story I'm going to tell you, and it happened in this building. Am I right, Marcus? Yes, sir. So Brian Brown was stepping down from the legislature, and as Pat said, in true kingmaker style, Marcus called me and said, hey, we need to get together and talk about who we're going to support to follow up with Brian Brown, because we make sure we got the right guy in there. So we were talking about it on the telephone, and I said, well, what do you think about Murphy? And Marcus said, I don't know Murphy. I don't know. I said, no, think about it. He is the perfect guy to go to Raleigh. Think about what he does all day. He looks at assholes. And that is how Greg Murphy's career began. Is it a true story?
Not exactly that way.
Some of it was true. And then we ended up having a meeting here on a Sunday night, and we brought Murphy in. He didn't know what he was being brought in for. And I think he thought he was winning an award, but we talked him into running, and so he's now our congressman. I'm glad he is. Greg Murphy is a longtime colleague and friend of Dr. Albernaz. Murphy is a highly accomplished urologic surgeon. He's the past chief of staff at ECU Health Medical Center, and currently our congressman for United States District, North Carolina District 3. Welcome to the stage, Congressman Greg Murphy.
Henry, you're right. I know one when I see one. It's only going to get better. Anyway, most importantly, thank you to the Scouts. I'm very blessed to have two sons who are both Eagle Scouts, and was able to share great times with them as they came along that journey. And you can always look back. I sadly enough was not in Scouts when I was growing up, But you guys are doing a great thing, and you will look back on it your entire life, and it will be a source of pride and joy for you to know that you were in Scouts and that you became an Eagle Scout. So congratulations, we're here and happy to support you. Now for the show. Marcus, I've been waiting for this 28 years, buddy. You know, just a few minutes ago, I said, "Where's Lisa?" And Marcus came up with this excuse that she has COVID. You know, Lisa's such a nice woman, she'll go to anything to not hear her husband roasted. So, if you think I'm going to go easier on you, Marcus, because she's not here, you're wrong. You know, there are pictures that we can show Marcus. These could be painful for you, buddy. I don't care if anybody else laughs in the room. This is just for Marcus, so it's going to be really, really good. You know, in relation to what Henry said, part of that story is right. A little bit of me, Marcus, hates you, despises you, because I went from a job that had a 99% approval rating to now I'm 50% plus or minus 1, depending upon if I take out the trash. You know, you've ruined my life, Marcus. You've ruined my life. And now I can't go anywhere without having to turn my back, and if somebody says, "Congressman Murphy," I'll turn back, "Are you a friendly or are you a foe?" So Marcus, a little bit of me hates you. So I will tell you, he has this annoying habit come election time of texting me, "Do you have the website to where I can donate to your opponent?" And he's happy to text me after this last election. "I voted for Tony Cowden. I voted for your opponent. Boy, I hope we can bring him home to victory." And it's kind of funny because Marcus does see him, as we've alluded to, really as a mover-shaker. A mover-shaker in politics. Hey, we're going to have a fundraiser for Pat McCrory. That didn't turn out too well. Sorry, Marcus. Or we're going to do this for Tim Moore. We're going to bring this here. But Marcus, let me just say, bless your heart, you don't know anything about politics. You may think you do, and as is evidence, you do think a lot of yourself, buddy, but you don't know anything about it. It's beautiful. You know, I have this, kind of this nervous habit. I can't sit still very well. It's just been a problem I've had since childhood. So, when we're in the operating room at the surgery center at the main hospital, and we're through our cases and we're waiting for the next case to do, I have this habit of popping into the other operating rooms and see what's going on in the other ORs. And I'll go in and I'll see Dr. Workman, and I will see a maestro at work. Fine particulate surgery. There's no blood anywhere. It's really poetry in motion. And then I walk into Marcus's OR. There's blood on the walls. The anesthesia staff is trying desperately to keep the patient alive. And Marcus is over there telling his 16th nurse, because he does need, right, Pat, so many staff, I need the 4th set of glasses, not the 8th set of glasses, please. And you remember those old Marcus Welby movies where they say, "Dot your brow"? Oh, nurse, dot my brow, because he's got a lot of brow to dot. Poor Marcus, he really does think he's a good surgeon. I went over there to the office one time, and I can't remember, I think I was having a little issue myself, and they said, "Dr. Marcus will be right with you." And it's great. And so I'm sitting around looking at the nice pictures on the wall. I have different ones in my office, so that I have to look at one. And what comes in, it was just like the herald of angels being brought in by Marcus's staff. Because he kind of floats in on this grand chair. He takes this little chair and kind of wheels himself around because why? It's too much to walk. It's too much to walk. And so, and after we're through it, Pat, you do it. I don't know, John, you do it a little differently. Like when we see patients, we have to go back and dictate, ... Marcus just proclaims. You know, we got through. I said, "Are you going to dictate?" No, they just hear me and they put it into word. It's like a scribe. It's like Moses coming out. Here are my 10 tablets. Here are my 10 commandments. You know, was it 12 years ago? 12 years ago, when the horrible earthquake hit Haiti. It's a really tough time. It's a really tough time. We as a community came together, and I was blessed to lead a team of 17 doctors and nurses that went down to Haiti and really did a lot of good work. And we had a nice little mass and ceremony, rather, over at St. Peter's before we left. And Marcus was there, Dr. Lindbeck, Perrin Jones, a couple of the orthopods, Chris Hasty and stuff. And we were there. And, you know, you're going down in pretty difficult times. The news was on there, and you can see a lot of really desperate folks. And Marcus is gathering his stuff, and poor Lisa runs up to me. I wish you were here. Oh, I wish you were here. And she runs up, she goes, "You have to take care of Marcus." And I said, "I'm sorry, but you have to care for Marcus." And I said, "Poor Lisa." "No, I don't. I only have to outrun him when the hordes come after us." And poor thing, she was just devastated, "But you have to." And I said, "No, Lisa, I don't." And so we got on that big airplane, and when Marcus got down, and it was pretty bad conditions, we go up in one place for eating room, where you remember Mario, the guy from Italy, who put the big pot of pasta together one night, and Marcus wanted to have a meeting. Have a meeting. You know, we have people from Italy, we have people from Canada, good Lord, Slovakia, and all this other stuff, and Marcus wants to bring United Nations together. And so he says, like, "Where's my room key? Where's my room key?" "Marcus, we're staying in a tent. We're staying in a tent with bunks." Now, I might or might not have a picture of Marcus. Marcus got into the Haitian beer one night. Now, it's very hot. It was very dehydrated there. And people were thirsty at night. Actually, I think Dr. Lindbeck got in the same case of beer. And you know, you're supposed to wear pants. Marcus forgot that one evening. And I might have had a camera out. Shall I show that picture, Marcus? Shall I show that picture, Marcus?
How much money do you want?
That's a good answer, Marcus. I have a campaign coming up. You know, the good book teaches us mercy, but it's also an eye for an eye. I tell you what, Marcus, I won't show that picture. You know, there is mercy in me, and it's probably going to cost you a lot the next election. But Marcus, I will just kind of maybe end with this. So, these are very, very desperate conditions. I mean, it was very sad. There was a lot of death and misery there. And so, Perrin Jones, Perrin's not here tonight, was our anesthesiologist, but we're running different operating rooms. And so he couldn't be in both operating rooms. So what did he do? He deputized Marcus to be the anesthesiologist in one of the operating rooms. And I happened to just kind of flit around because I was kind of trying to manage things and this, that, and the other stuff. And I walked outside the operating room that Marcus was managing, and I heard the most god-awful scream. Marcus can't do anesthesia. And so what I said is I walk in, and the patient's asleep, and Hasty was doing the surgery. But thank God I took a picture, because the utter screams of the patient, because Marcus can't do anesthesia. But what's he doing? He's just smiling like he knew exactly what he's doing, because his ego was just floating like, hey, I can do anesthesia too. I'm only pushing a button. And thankfully, Marcus, and the patient woke up, he said his name was Dr. Lindbeck. when the patient asked him, "Who are you and who can I thank?" "I'm Dr. Lindbeck." We had a very good time. We took care of a lot of people, but I can't get Marcus to go back there with me for some reason. I think it was a little too hot. And Lisa was very happy that I returned him mostly in one piece. Marcus, you're a good man. Good men are hard to find these days. You've got a good heart, mostly a good brain. You've done a lot for this community, and we thank you, and we love you. God bless.
I thought that was pretty easy for Murphy.
That was so good.
Because I know he has more than that. We'll get to it later. All right, let's see where I am on my script here. Okay. Now, for the results of tonight's efforts, thanks to all here and to those who were not able to attend tonight, who donated, I'm pleased to announce I have the envelope. The envelope, please. What do we say the goal was? 70? So we had $61,450 entering the night. We're going to leave the dinner tonight in Dr. Albernaz's name. Marcus, are you listening? He's over there having a meeting. Is he king making again? Total raised tonight in support of scouting in Dr. Albernaz's name. $76,725. Thank you to everyone. We also want to thank our volunteers, our new district director, Julie Scorin, Teresa Rose, office manager, and East Carolina Council, Lori Gutman, longtime scout volunteer, our Troop 9 scouts, Jeff McCauley, Wagner Grubb, and the Hilton staff. And now, we want to hear from the man of the hour, shall we? The man who raised all this money tonight. Let's welcome Dr. Marcus Albernaz.
Wow, so thank you. $76,000. That's tremendous for a great cause. And when Greg was Citizen of the Year a couple of years ago, was it 18,000 you raised, Greg? I mean, really, it was a great job. It was a lot, great big turnout. Good job. And so I also want to say that there is something going around at the Surgery Center and at ECENT that, and it just goes something like this: why is Dr. Albernaz like Chinese food? And it's because lo mein, tenants, and noodles all day. Yes. So Greg and Pat and John, they're just such good friends and wonderful surgeons, and I'm going to take the high road. And I don't have enough time to roast you guys. So, but thank you. It takes a lot to do that, and I really appreciate it. So I have so many thank yous and a couple stories. First and foremost, I thank the Boy Scouts for this tremendous honor. And just to be associated with such a great organization is really humbling. And speaking of being humbled, I want to speak about my mom. Because my four sisters complain that she thinks I'm the cat's meow, I'm the only son. And so, knowing that, let's go back 40 years and high stakes interview from a medical school class. And there's a panel of people there. And they saw that I played basketball. And the question was, were you a good player? So what do you say? But I had a ready response, and I said, well, my mom thought I was a good player. And so just fast forward 40 years, and And I'm talking to my cheerleader, my head cheerleader, my mom. I said, Mom, you're gonna get this invitation, and it's about this honor, it's about this thing, and it's about this. And she had a one-word reply, and it was, you? So I was kind of like the same way, like, me? So, but this does give me the opportunity to thank so many people here that I really admire and look up to, and that inspired me. And some of them are here tonight. Parker Overton, Lawrence Davenport, Phil Hodges, Brian Kittrell, Superglue Lindsey Griffin, Paul Cunningham. You kind of have to be over 70 to be in this crowd. Sorry to tell you guys that. Henry, are you over 70?
Not yet, but close.
All right, you're close enough, Henry. Thank you so much. You do so much for everybody all the time. You have so much energy to do it and accomplish so much that you don't even know. So thank you, Henry. Love y'all. And then the granddaddy, and Randy Chitwood is here, who's done so much for this whole region. Thank you, Randy. I know I'm leaving people out. I apologize. And then there's the granddaddy of them all, and that is, of course, a historical figure, really, in Pitt County. Mr. Mark Owens is here tonight, and his wife Barbara. So thank you all so much for setting the bar so high and being examples to me, and really for all of us. I want to thank my medical family. So my ECENT folks are here. My OR team folks, great teams. My surgery center crowd who just confirmed for you that I'm low maintenance. It's true about the glasses, though. I do have a few glasses. I learned that from Dr. Chitwood.
Both of our teams here.
So, as far as I can be here for 45 minutes if I start naming names, but I do have to start with just a few people. And I am going to start with Dawn, of course. Dawn. Dawn is, of course, my assistant, my left hand, my right hand, usually my brain. And Dawn, our patients love you so much. You make me look good every day, better than I deserve. So thank you, you're the best, love you. And Randy, you remember this thing. Pauline Teal is here. The original Michael Jordan of Scrub Techs and all things operating room. Awesome. Legend. And Lynette, our team leaders here. Again, I gotta stop going with names. For Surgery Center, the name that I have to pick out is LaTanya Higgins. And I just want to say, Pauline, if you're Michael Jordan, then LaTanya, you're LeBron James. And y'all related somehow. Y'all need to check your genealogies. I pick and tease on you mercilessly, but you give as good as you get. And so a lot of stuff that you heard was fake news earlier. So it's true that it operated on a young lady whose family owns a horse farm in Duplin County. And so the young lady's surgery was beautiful. A colt was born on that day, and she prevailed on her parents to name it Albernaz. And so a few months later, there was another patient from Duplin County. This one very nervous preoperatively. And we're trying to calm him down and just kind of talk him off the ledge almost. And so, just breaking the ice, saying that, talking about Albernaz the horse in Duplin County. In my mind's eye, roaming freely, galloping through the fields of Duplin County. And so, behind the curtain, this disembodied voice comes, Jennifer, and she says, loud enough for the patient to hear, says, "It's a donkey." It's a donkey. So, but something magical happened. The patient was no longer nervous. Right? So, really there's a moral to the story. And it's not just that we make work fun, which is great. We make work not work, which is a beautiful thing, just in and of itself. But what we have together and what happens as a result is that, and you can call it an intangible, but it's not. It's tangible because patients feel it. They feel the positivity one way or the other. So thank you, my medical team, for creating such a healing environment that's fun as well. And I love all of y'all. So thank you, medical team. I wanted to get to my part because it helps to have such great partners who, to a person, are world-class surgeons and world-class people. And 3 of them are here tonight. Dr. Breckersbauer, multi-talented Dr. Breckersbauer, inner ear surgeon, best inner ear surgeon in the state of North Carolina. There's no doubt about it. Thank you, Brad, for being here. And Jamie Gruby, who Dr. Gruby does amazing head and neck cancer surgery. She's our young whippersnapper. Jamie, thank you very much for being here. Really appreciate you. And then there's my Dr. Workman, who you heard from earlier today. We're still friends, I think. Thinking about him. So, John is a doctor's doctor, and a super specialist in voice, and somebody I lean on a lot. But also my best friend, and my brother-in-law, although really we dropped the in-law part a long time ago, didn't we? So, it just helps to have great partners, and now that I'm talking to John, it gets to my family, and of course my mom, everybody loves my mom, and they not only tell me that, but they just grab me by the arm and says, "We love your mom." And so, Mom, everybody loves you, but your family worships you. So, the only thing my mom did wrong is she gave my sisters all the good genes. And so Joyce is here, nicest, best person in the world, who is now the star of the family because she has a grandchild, that's the fourth generation. Joyce, thank you so much for being here. You're the best. And my sister, Vanessa, who is an incredible interventional radiologist. I see the results, does so much in the community. V, thank you for being such a great sis. Love you. And as a surprise, didn't expect this, my sister Priscilla flew in. Just like, okay, that's a surprise. Like, she's walking down the hall, huh? And so, thank you so much, Priscilla. I love you so much. She's just super, like, okay, I thought I was, had good grades in medical school, whatever. No. Valedictorian. High school had you? No. She was the valedictorian. So, just super smart, such a wonderful person. Love you so much, Priscilla. And she's lucky to be married to a fantastic attorney who's a healthcare attorney, and just a family counselor who helps all of us out so much. Thank you guys. And of course, my two sons who I love so very much and I'm so proud of. My oldest son Joe is in Europe doing his professor stuff, and my youngest son Turner is here, who's an attorney in Raleigh. And just a quick little story about Turner, who's he does medical defense work, so he represents hospitals, nurses, CRNAs, and others. And so he could have gone the other way and sued doctors, but apparently he wants his inheritance. And so, but Turner, and you don't need to hear this, but I tell you this all the time. I'm so proud of you and love you so much. So, and now of course we get to the most important person in my life, who is Lisa. And Lisa, so I was a surgical intern and she was an IV team nurse. And I like to say now that she chased me around the hospital for a year. Nobody believes me, but it's even worse than that because, again, flying in from Kentucky and South Carolina, didn't expect this. There was some, thank you so much for being here, are 3 eyewitnesses to that whole year. So I can't get away with anything. They know the real story. So Dr. Robert Knox from Kentucky and Charleston is here, and also my good friends Chuck and Peg Smith. Dr. Smith was with me, and again, just colleague. We go back 35 years. We tell the same stories over and over again, and we laugh just as hard still. It's like, thank you guys. Really love you guys. We're so close. Really appreciate you. And Peg was on the Ivy team with Lisa, so again, she knows the whole story. It was kind of the other way around. And Lisa's not here, she's quarantining. Like, we all know about that. Everybody's been through everything's family, so she can't be here. I think I'm supposed to look into some camera somewhere. And I just want to say to Lisa, there's a picture. Let's get a picture of that, that's sweet. You sustain me, you keep me straight. Lord knows I need that, just ask my medical peeps. You make me laugh. And Lisa, you're not the better part of me, you're the best part of me. I love you so much. And I just want to say one more thing, and that's about Wagner Grubb. Just a logistical genius, a big heart, and tremendous vision. And she put all of this together tonight. Along with a lot of help. So thank you so much, Wagner, and thank everyone here for. And I so much appreciate each and every one of you, and thank you for coming out and supporting such a great cause. Henry, take it away.
Let me bring up Jeff Cawley one more time. Jeff has a presentation to make to Marcus.
Can't get away yet. I'm honored to be here today on behalf of the East Carolina Council of Boy Scouts of America to present the 2022 Pitt County Distinguished Citizen Award to Dr. Marcus Albernaz. The purpose of the award is to honor a local leader whose service and leadership has exemplified the values of the Scout Oath and law in their daily life. Dr. Albernaz practices medicine with Eastern Carolina ENT, serves as a professor of surgery at the Brody School of Medicine, was recently inducted into the North Carolina Institute of Medicine, and recently completed his tenure as chairman of the ECU Health Board of Directors and the 8 hospital health systems. He has been an integral part of the fabric of the Greenville community for nearly 34 years and is passionate about improving medical care and patient safety, opening doors for education, and driving economic economic development for the betterment of Greenville and Eastern North Carolina. Dr. Albernaz has also been a staunch supporter of the Boy Scouts of America and his vision of preparing our youth to become responsible, participating citizens and leaders who are guided in making ethical and moral choices by the Scout Oath and Scout Law. Therefore, it is my privilege, on behalf of the East Carolina Council of Boy Scouts of America, to present Dr. Marcus Albernaz this Distinguished Citizens Award.
It's been a great night. It's gone great, except for me screwing up the part where you're supposed to